Welcome back to pregame.tv. We're going to go college football. We're going to take a look at BYU at Houston. Houston Cougars, what's going on? They're undefeated. They haven't played anybody yet. I think they're going to be in for...
You're probably going to go with the Cougars this game, aren't you?
I'm not going to go with the Cougars in this game. We're going to actually have a play on the total in this game.
Oh, okay.
And, it is a great spot if you want to pull, the situational card out here, because BYU is coming off of playing in-state rival Utah State. Follow that up with they played an ACC school. Not often you get an ACC school come into your building, throttled Georgia Tech, and then next week play Boise State. So if you're looking at the schedule, this would be a potential flat spot for BYU. But how do you look past somebody that's undefeated? No matter if they've played anybody or haven't played anybody, they're still undefeated and you're not. I don't think you look past a team like that.
Yeah, the coaching staff will make sure they don't look past them. The big concern for Houston is, and not only are they undefeated straight up, they're undefeated against the spread. Nobody expected anything out of Houston this year. They're only allowing 3.5 yards per carry, which has been very impressive. But will they be able to stop this BYU offense, a team that run over some pretty good football teams this year? BYU's had a much tougher schedule, but yet they've outgained every single opponent they've played, which is really amazing to me for a team. Most of the time when you get a big yardage edge, it's teams that pass the football. Mm-hmm. BYU is a running team, and they're still able to outgain these teams on the season. The defense has been outstanding, 4.5 yards per play. That's over a full yard better than the FBS average. Good football team here in BYU. I don't have a play on this, but I do guarantee one thing.
Cougars win.
Cougars are going to cover this game.
No doubt. We're on it. We both have that. I'll tell you what, Taysom Hill did have one good passing game this year. The kid can flat out run. And if Williams is close to 100% out of the backfield, the kid from Fontana, he's got wheels. That's all they need, because they do, and we joke where we say they're 18 to 23-year-old kids. Well, because of the missions, sometimes BYU has a couple kids that are older and stronger and bigger, and they're a very physical team. So they like to run the ball. Under Bronco Mendenhall, he's got them big boys. They'll run it right down your throat, baby.
It's not the old Lavelle Edwards BYU teams where you remember. I mean, I used to love watching the old BYU teams where up and down the field throwing the ball all over the place.
I got to tell you, BYU is one of these programs that's had great coaches for a long time. And as you mentioned, Mendenhall, he doesn't get enough credit in my regard. I think he's just a terrific football coach.
Great chemistry.
He's totally changed the dynamic of, the face of how the team is. He went from a passing team to a running power team. And, Ken, before I make it official, you have anything to add in this one?
Always good defensive players, too. Even though BYU only had 4 defensive starters back, Kyle Van Noy, one of the best linebackers in the country, guy's a stud. He just deserves accolades. He'll definitely play at the next level, no doubt.
All right, guys, this is my free pick. Let's make it official. All right, what I'm looking at this game is I'm looking at the total. And when you think of BYU, because like we talked, even though they're a running team now and they've been scoring points, people still think of BYU and they think of them as an offensive machine. Houston, everybody knows that, for the last several years, they've been a highly productive team. And then once they go up against tougher teams, that's not the case because they can't manhandle those lesser foes. And that's what's going to happen here. BYU will run the football. They will dominate this game on the ground. I don't think Houston's going to be able to stop them. BYU will move up and down the field on the ground. So they are going to get their points. But while they're getting their points, they're going to be chewing up clock, guys. And it's going to shorten this game. And on the flip side, Houston, this is the best defense they are going to have faced all season long. BYU's played a tough schedule, and only one team has scored more than 20 points on them, and that was Texas. They scored 21, and they were getting pounded in that game. The last touchdown was meaningless in garbage time. This BYU defense is for real. And if you want to talk about a defense that shut Houston down, if you look last week, and Bryan mentioned it on an earlier video, Memphis Tigers have a very good defense. It's not as good as BYU's, but it's a good defense. They held Houston to 25 points. Now, you might say, well, 25 points, that's not bad. Houston had the benefit of 4 Memphis turnovers and still only scored 25 points. To me, that's a great statement for that Memphis defense, that they held this potent Houston offense to only 45 points, or to 25 points with 4 turnovers. I like BYU in this game. The only reason I can't pull the trigger and lay the points with BYU is they do have coming off the big game against Utah State and Georgia Tech, and another big game up next with Boise State at home. But I'm going to look at this game to be the under. And because of that big game next week, if they have the lead, you know they're going to milk the clock in the fourth quarter. They're not going to keep attacking. They'll want to close this game out and get to next week, which will shorten the game even more. I'll take the under in this one. I'm projecting 54 points or less. This total sitting around 62.5 right now, so easily go under that total. That's my free play here. And Bryan, you want to add something?
I just want to make one comment. My only concern would be teams in this conference, where Houston plays, Conference USA, wherever the hell they're calling it this year, they change the names of these things so often. They rarely see physical teams like this. So at the end of the game, you said they would run the football and take time off the clock. They may have that plan, but because of Houston not playing physical teams like this, they may just wear down as the game goes on. That's my only concern.
It's a good point. And at that point in time, too, with the big game going next week, do you think Mendenhall starts emptying the bench out a little bit, too?
That's a good point.
So I just don't see Houston scoring enough points on, because to have an over hit, you need both teams to contribute to the over. I don't think Houston's going to be able to contribute enough to get this game over.
Here's what you may want to do. Play the Houston points under, because BYU's defense is so good. And if it does go over, I think it'll be because of the BYU offense being able to wear them down. Maybe play the Houston points under is another way to go about it.
That would be a good...
We talked about the BYU defense, how physical they are. They put Chucky Keaton out for the year. I mean, that big blow to Utah State's team. We know how good and explosive he was as a player, but BYU is one of the most physical teams in the country.
Absolutely. All right, guys, great stuff. We're going to come right back. We'll be doing one of my free picks again. We're going to go big game, ACC. Can we go ahead and put a tab on it? It's game of the year in the ACC. Florida State at Clemson. We're going to talk about that one next. Pregame.tv.